The change elevation command will change the elevation of an object in Business Center. So on the CAD tab, there is a change elevation command. And there's a couple different properties that you can use to change the elevation. There's a delta elevation, there's an absolute elevation, there's an undefined, surface elevation, and relative to point. So basically, if we take a look at some of these lines down here, you can see that some of this is in 3D and some of it is not. If I pick on a line such as this one and it has a question mark, that's known as an undefined elevation. So for example, if I wanted to take this line string that is in this parking area here, that is at an elevation, I can go ahead and set it to undefined. So when I click apply, what it does is it undefines the elevation and drops it down. Now it drops it down to 0, but it's not exactly 0, it's actually undefined. The other thing I can do is I can take this line string and I can set it to an absolute elevation of, let's say, 100, and that will set that elevation to 100. Or I can do a delta elevation and raise it by a certain value. So if I say I wanted to raise it 25 feet, I can apply it. If I want to lower it, you can see it's 125. If I want to lower it, let's say 50 feet, then what I would do is put a minus 50 and click apply, and now it's down and lowered. I can also assign it to a surface elevation. So if there's a surface in your project, like I have here, let's say the original ground, when I choose that, you'll also know that the delta elevation doesn't change. You want to make sure that that's, if you want it exactly at the elevation, of the surface, I want to leave that blank. So when I click apply, what it does is it raises this line, and that line is actually elevated. So if we edit it, you'll notice that each vertex, when I go to the vertical tab, has an elevation. Now you can see there's elevations here because this elevation was wherever the line crossed a triangle line in my surface, it got assigned a vertical elevation point. Okay. So if I want to set that to a surface and then change the delta, I can do that, let's say 50. So it'll go to the surface and then raise it up another 50 feet. So the elevations will still be there. You'll see there, but now they're 50 feet higher than what the elevation is at the surface at that location. If I wanted to set this back to undefined, I can, and get rid of all of those points, I can undefine it and apply it, and it will go back down to here. Now, one thing to point out on the delta elevation, if the object doesn't have an elevation and it's undefined and you try to do a delta elevation, you'll see that nothing happens. It looks like it changed it, but you'll see that nothing happened down here. So what you need to do is set it to an absolute elevation, let's say of 0, and then you can do a delta elevation of 50 and it'll raise it up, all right, because you got to change it from undefined to actually have an elevation, and 0 is an acceptable elevation.